What is up, everybody, and welcome back to On the Brick Road again. It's me, it's still me, your host, Kyle. And today we got a bit of a topic, a bit of a doozy, interesting thing, something not related to LEGO news, because I want to switch it up a little bit. I feel like I've been yapping about LEGO news. Let's talk about a more universal topic, and that topic being, how does one price a LEGO set? And I'm not saying how does LEGO price a LEGO set. How do you, as a consumer, look at a LEGO set and go, yeah, I think this should be worth about that much money? Like, how should we be doing that? And the reason I want to talk about this is because, not to get into the news again, but LEGO sets have been really expensive lately. Like, goodness gravy, great balls of fire, what in the blaze are they doing? You know, like, the turbo tank, it's crazy expensive, absolutely absurd. And that's not the only one. Other LEGO sets coming out are also absurd. $23 battle packs? What the heck is that? I think that, it's like a super battle pack. It was like $45, I think, that came out. That had the Commander Bly's troops in it. It didn't come with Commander Bly, but his boys. Like, that's wild, bro. That is absolutely bonkers, crazy, absurd, even. And it's just that's the constant. That's the norm. It's overpricing, it seems. So, with sets being so expensive, at least we think they're so expensive, how should we be judging them? Because maybe we'll find out that they're actually not that overpriced. I think LEGO sets are almost universally overpriced, but maybe not as overpriced as we thought. Or maybe we'll learn that they really are as bad as they appear, and man, we just got issues. So yeah, let's jump into that, and we'll just kind of go through some different methods, some different pointers, qualities, and we'll have a grand old time during this podcast. The only podcast that's done on the road talking about LEGO Star Wars. All right, let's hop into it. First and foremost, we got the age-old classic. This thing's been around since the pyramids have been created, I think. They were counting the number of bricks that were being slid up the pyramids. And that's counting the number of pieces in a LEGO set, and you get price per piece. This is not the best method, I think. And I think a lot of people also realize this. It's not as perfect as it sounds. Initially, off the bat, you're like, oh, wow, this is great. Price per piece. I love that. I like that idea. Let's do it, you know? But it's not really that great. And I think the reason being is that pieces are so diverse. They're so different. You have big pieces, you have little pieces. Are those pieces worth the same realistically? No, they're not. And some sets have more big pieces than little pieces, so it's not like it just evens all out. Then, of course, you also have pieces that have printing on them. That's going to definitely cause, like, some price differentiation. What about a minifigure? Like, does the head of a minifigure count the same as a pip, like a LEGO 1x1? I don't think so. So, clearly, the price per piece is just a flawed method. However, this is not used that much, and I think that's good. It's still used by some people, and it's still used by people that even don't believe in it, but it's kind of like other people want me to say it, so let's say it. But, I just don't think that's the best method. A better method, but not a complete method, is using the weight of a LEGO set, I feel. And I really think that is the way to go, is to weigh the sets and determine, like, okay, this set weighs this much. That means you're getting this amount of plastic for this amount of money. Now, I don't know if there's a set consensus on what the weight should be, like, per dollar. I know the classic thing is, 10 cents per LEGO piece for when you're doing price per piece. I don't know if there's something like that for weight. I'm trying to think. Was it like $1 for every, like, 12 grams or something? Or 15 grams? I don't know. I've heard numbers get thrown about, but there's no set consensus on this. However, I think it is a better measurement because you are seeing the physical amount of plastic, which is better than just the number of pieces. Because as we said, LEGO pieces can be different sizes. However, this is still not a perfect method, because what about those printed pieces? What about LEGO pieces that are super, like, rare and hard to get, because of their shaping or color? What about them? Are they not more valuable than your average, like, oh, look, it's a 4x1 gray brick. Oh, like, come on. Different pieces are going to be valued differently, not just on the amount of plastic that are in them. So, I think that when you want to judge a Lego set, the best way to do it, realistically, is going to be, you want the weight, you want to see how much it weighs, you want to see if that looks appropriate to you, but you also want to take into account printed pieces, because they ultimately are going to have more put into them, so they're going to be valued more. You're also going to want to put into account pieces that are very, very, like, rare, or they're completely new pieces. Like, if Lego makes a new piece for a set specifically, and it's just used in that set, that's going to cause some price hikes. And you also want to take into account minifigures. And minifigures are very unique and special because they're kind of their own thing. Like, yes, they're made up of Lego pieces, but we all know that minifigure parts are more valuable than an average brick. And part of that is because they've been printed on, and they have more detail. But also part of that is just because they serve a purpose that is very unique. Like, the Lego minifigure legs, they are legs. Like, that is legs for a minifigure, as opposed to, a 2x1 brick that can be used to build all sorts of things. Like, it's not like a specific thing that's like, oh yeah, no, that's what that's used for. It can be used for more things. So because the Lego minifigures are so specific, they have more value. They have more design put into them. They have a more defined specific use. And in general, minifigures are collected more than individual Lego bricks. So their value goes up because of that. So they need to have their own special categorization. I mean, ultimately, they have to be valued pretty high, especially if they're exclusive or if they have a unique mold to them. Like, if they have a unique helmet or hat or something, they're just going to go up in price. And I think all this needs to be taken into account because it cannot just be a simple thing. We cannot just simply be saying it's price per piece, it's price per gram, because it's not that simple. It is more of a dynamic question. And ultimately, it's a question that every individual has to come up with an answer. I personally may think something is worth X amount of money. However, you may not. And that's because it's a set that I absolutely love. Like, it's a new Star Destroyer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Star Destroyer. And then you only like the prequels and you're like, bah, lame, I'm not paying that. And so it's all going to be, subjective at some point. But we do have these defining markers that we can check out. And honestly, I think the quickest way to do this is, hey, let's look at the minifigures. Let's evaluate the minifigures at, X amount of dollars per minifigure. They're more expensive if they are exclusive, more expensive if they have a unique mold for like a helmet or a hat or something. Value them at this price. Then, once you take away the price of the minifigures from the price of the set, it's like, okay, am I willing to pay this amount of money now just for the build itself? And then you can kind of, determine from there if it's worth it or not. And ultimately, I think that can help do some breakdowns of different sets. So just to give some examples, we'll look at the Turbo Tank. Turbo Tank people are not happy about, which is fair. I wouldn't be happy either if it's something I was collecting. People aren't happy about it. And when you look at it, it's like, okay, you are getting some exclusive minifigures. Commander Bakara and the Galactic Marines, they're exclusive. Never before been made. They're brand new. So that's going to increase the price right there. You're also getting 2 unique helmet molds. Both the helmet mold for Bakara and for the Galactic Marines. That's also going to increase the price. So already, those minifigures are bumping up the price a fair amount. I mean, there's, the 4 of them in total. I think it's fair to say that they are evaluated at $10 a pop. Personally speaking. Which, maybe not everyone would evaluate them at that, but I think that's pretty fair. I think that is pretty fair. So if you're doing $10 a pop, that's $40 already gone. I believe the set's $160, I want to say. So we're looking at $120 for, at this point, some random battle droids, but then also Ki-Adi-Mundi. And he has a pretty unique head mold, but it's not exclusive. It's not like new or anything. So I don't know if that's really increasing the price that much. So even with the minifigures, even with breaking it down, it looks like still not worth the money you're paying for it. Especially since the set is so small. It doesn't really have unique pieces in it, to my knowledge. It also does not have many printed pieces either. I think, from my knowledge. So it really is like, okay, what is going on here? Like, things are wrong. Things are definitely gone astray. So there's an issue. But let's try and use the same method to break down something else, like the MTT. That's 120, I believe. And it has an exclusive minifigure of Commander Bly. It technically has exclusive commando droids because they've never been made like this. In gray. So already it has some exclusive minifigures. Droids are iffy because, do you really count a droid as a full minifigure? The commando droids I would count as full minifigures. Call me crazy, but between the unique head mold that has to be made and the fact that there is printing like another minifigure, I think they are maybe not at the exact level of full minifigure, but like they're worth, 75% of a full minifigure. And at that point, I'm just rounding up. Call me lazy, whatever. So, let's knock off $30 for those guys. I mean, at that point, we're looking at $90. For $90, you're getting several battle droids, which is not really worth much. They're not super valuable. So what? Knock off another 10 for those. You're looking at $80 now. Aayla Secura, again, not a unique character, not a new character, but does have a pretty unique head mold like Ki-Adi-Mundi. I bet that does increase the price some. I don't know if I would say $10 for her minifigure, but heck, let's say $10 for her and the stab. We're looking, busting down to, what is it, 70 now? $70? I think I did my math right there. And I'm like, well, $70 for, a pretty decent looking and sized MTT, not to mention that fantastic large printed dish piece that's at the front. I mean, listen, man, as much as it may pain us, I think that set is probably pretty close to being priced right. I think LEGO's always going to price their sets a little high, and so that's something to expect. It's when they overdo that the issue really begins to arise. And so for like $70 for the build itself, considering the printed dish piece and the fact that LEGO's always going to upcharge a little bit, shoot, I think that's worth the money. Like, I think that is probably spot on in the pricing. And I've heard people really complain about how it doesn't hold many droids. And I agree. I think that's an issue. I think it should be holding more droids. However, just because you don't like the design of a set, you don't like how it has been mechanically engineered, that doesn't mean that necessarily it's not worth its value in at least plastic and minifigures and printed unique parts. Like, a set couldn't technically be worth its value in printed parts and like overall plastic and the minifigures included, but it could still look really bad. Like, it could look rough. I think that's something that doesn't happen as much anymore, but it still could happen. And alternatively, maybe you, because this is again all up to your personal choice, you could look at a set and be like, man, this thing is going to cost me a second mortgage. I don't even know how I'm going to pay for this thing. It is so overly priced. but you look at it and you're like, it's just such a beautiful set, and it has this one minifigure that I want so bad. Like, I can't, I'm like, it's like I'm being drawn to it. It's like a pie that's sitting on a windowsill, and I begin to float to it because I just can't help it. And then, boom, you buy it. Because, again, it's all up to you. It's all up to, the personal decision-making of the individual consumer, which is you and me and anyone else that's trying to buy a Lego set. So, hey, if you like it, then shoot, go for it. Why not? And again, it's just up to you. However, maybe consider the amount of plastic you're getting. Consider the rare pieces you're getting, the new pieces you're getting. Consider the printed pieces you're getting. Consider the minifigures you're getting, especially what kind of minifigures. Are they new? And take that all into account if you're kind of on the fence about buying something. Obviously, all this is going to go out the window if you see a set and you're like, oh my gosh, you're just going to buy the set. So just do it. But yeah, so that's my 2 cents on the matter. I wanted to go over this video because I think it's pretty timeless. I know I used some examples, but hey, whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to do this because I'm like, hey man, I think this is something good people should consider. Maybe you found it useful. I hope so. I know I've found it useful. I've been doing the checklist in my mind for the Death Star that's supposed to be coming out, and I've just been like, wow, this is not doing it, because ultimately, I mean, I expect there'll be some printed pieces in the set, but nothing crazy. Don't think there's going to be any, really unique pieces. Might be a few here and there, but I don't really expect it. The minifigures are, yeah, there's several new ones, but, I mean, nothing crazy. And I'm just like, I'm just not expecting much out of it, so I don't think I'm going to be buying it. And especially since, again, it's all subjective, and I subjectively don't think I'm going to like what I'm going to see when it gets released, the design. So, there you go. That's my 2 cents on the matter. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have found some pleasure out of watching this, perhaps on your drive to work. I'm driving to work right now, so maybe you are too. Or perhaps, hey, you enjoyed doing it in the background. You're doing some dishes, some laundry, a bit of homework. Got the podcast on. Hey, I want you to know you're doing good. Good job. Keep up the hard work. And on that note, me, your host Kyle, will be leaving you now. You've been listening to On the Brick Road Again, the only podcast where we talk about Lego Star Wars while driving a car. Quality, not so great, but content, also not so great, but it's kind of interesting, I think. Anyways, y'all have a good one. God bless, and adios.